Pull up a chair. Tonight, I want to talk about a knock at the door. Not a frightening one. That's the thing. A small, polite knock. The kind you'd answer without thinking. Because here is what almost every version of this story has in common. The people it happens to always say the same thing afterward. They say, there was nothing scary about them at first. They were just two children, standing on the porch, asking to come inside, and every single person who has lived to tell it says they felt deep in their body, before they understood why, that they must not, under any circumstances, open that door. The man I'm going to tell you about tonight felt exactly that. His name was Ray, and he listened to that feeling. He thinks that's the only reason he's still here. Ray was a long-haul truck driver, the kind of job that turns your life inside out. Awake when the world sleeps, asleep when the world is loud. He lived alone in a small house at the edge of a small town. No neighbors close enough to wave to. One road in, one road out. He liked it that way. The quiet suited him. After a long run, he'd come home, pour one drink, and sit by the front window watching the dark road just to feel still for a while before bed. That window is important. Remember the window, because Ray's house had a heavy front door with a small peephole and a single porch light he kept on out of habit, and that window beside it looking out over an empty gravel driveway and the long, dark road beyond. On most nights, nothing ever came up that road. Most nights. This was not most nights. It was just past 2 a.m. Ray was in the chair by the window, half asleep when he heard it. A knock. Soft, even. 3 taps. Out here, 2 a.m. A knock at the door is not a normal sound. There was no car in the driveway. No headlights had come up the road. He would have seen them. He'd been sitting right there. But there was a knock. So Ray got up, and he went to the door, and he looked through the peephole. And on his porch, lit by that single bulb, were 2 children, a boy and a girl. The boy maybe 12, the girl a little younger, dressed plainly, standing very still, close together, shoulder to shoulder, just waiting. And Ray's first thought was the normal one, the human one. 2 kids, alone, at 2 a.m, out here, miles from anywhere. Something must be terribly wrong. He reached for the lock, and then he stopped. He couldn't have told you why. His hand was on the lock, and his body simply would not turn it. Something in him, older than thought, had stood straight up and said, "No." So instead of opening the door, Ray spoke through it. "Hey," he said, "you kids okay? What do you need?" And the boy answered. His voice was calm, polite, pleasant even, too pleasant, smooth like it had been practiced. "We need to use your phone," the boy said. "Our mom is waiting for us. We just need to come in for a minute." And Ray, still not opening the door, said, "I can call someone for you. You stay right there." There was a pause, and when the boy spoke again, the pleasantness had thinned just slightly, like a smile held too long. "We can't come in unless you let us in," the boy said. "You have to invite us. It will only take a minute. Please, we're just children. Why won't you let us in?" And that was when Ray looked, really looked, through that little circle of glass at the 2 faces on his porch. They were just children. That's what made it so hard to understand at first. Ordinary clothes, ordinary hair, ordinary little hands, and yet there was something about their faces that Ray's eyes kept sliding away from. Something he couldn't quite let himself look at directly. The porch light was dim, and they kept their heads tilted just so, chins a little down, faces half in shadow. But every time his gaze drifted up toward where their eyes should be, a cold, instinctive part of him pulled his attention somewhere else. Later, he would not be able to explain it. He only knew that some animal piece of him did not want to see what was in those small faces. Not yet. And the boy said, softer now, almost kind, "It's okay. You can let us in. We won't hurt you. We just need to come inside. Here is the part the survivors all describe. The part that is hardest to put into words. They say that standing at that door, you begin to feel a pull. Not a sound, not a push. A wanting. A heavy, sourceless need to do the one thing every part of you is screaming not to do. To reach out and turn the lock and open the door and let them in. Ray felt his own hand drifting back toward the lock. He watched it move like it belonged to someone else. His mind was saying no. His body was saying no. And still his hand rose, drawn toward that little brass latch, while the two children waited, patient, certain, heads still tilted down as if they had done this 1,000 times, and never once been refused for long. "Let us in," the boy said. And the girl, who had not spoken until now, said it too, in the exact same voice. "Let us in." And then Ray did the hardest thing he has ever done. He took his hand off the lock. He stepped back from the door, and he said one word. "No." The porch went quiet. The knocking stopped. The voices stopped. And through the peephole, the two small faces did not look sad and did not look angry. They looked surprised, as if no one had ever simply said no to them before. For a long moment, nobody moved. And then the porch light flickered. Once. And when it steadied, the porch was empty. No children, no footsteps on the gravel, no car, no sound on the long, dark road. Just an empty porch and a single drink, going warm on the windowsill. Ray let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. He thought it was over. It was not over. Ray went to bed. He tried to. He lay in the dark of his room and told himself it had been 2 lost kids and a tired man's imagination. And that was when he heard it. Laughing. Children laughing. Low and delighted, just outside his bedroom window. Not the laugh of a child who is happy. The laugh of a child who knows something you don't. Ray lay frozen. The laughing moved. It slid along the side of the house, from the bedroom window to the kitchen, to the living room, circling, unhurried. Then the banging started. Not knocking, banging. A flat, heavy slap against the walls. First one side of the house, then, far too quickly to have been anyone running, the other. Bang! From the back door. Bang! From the window above the sink. Bang! From the wall right behind his bed, inches from his head. And between the bangs, a small voice, sing-song, sweet, calling him by name. "Ray, we came back. Ray, let us in. You don't want us out here, Ray." They knew his name. He had never told them his name. Ray didn't know how long it went on. The laughing, the banging, his name in that small, sweet voice from every side of the house at once. And then, all at once, it stopped. The silence was worse than the noise. And into that silence came 3 taps, soft, even, polite, from the front door, back where it had started. Ray should have stayed in his room. He knew that. He knew it even as he stood up. But some part of him had to see, had to know they were really there. So he crossed the dark house, and he came to the front door, and he leaned in, and he looked through the peephole. And this time, there was no shadow to hide them. The porch light was steady and bright, and the boy was standing directly in front of the glass, face lifted, looking straight back at him. And Ray made eye contact. There were no eyes, no pupils, no irises, no white at all. Just 2 pools of solid, perfect black, edge to edge, filling each socket completely, like 2 holes punched through the front of his face into somewhere with no bottom. And the black eyes were looking directly into Ray's. They saw him. Whatever was behind that black, it saw him. And the boy smiled and pressed closer to the glass until one enormous black eye filled the entire peephole, and he said, in a voice that was very old and no longer pretending to be a child at all, "We'll keep coming back, Ray. We have all the time there is. All you have to do is open the door." Ray stepped back from the door. He did not open it. He sat in the dark, away from every window, and he waited out the longest night of his life. And at some point before dawn, the last bang faded. The last whisper of his name dissolved, and the house went quiet for real. When the sun came up, the porch was empty. The gravel was undisturbed, as if no one had been there at all. Ray didn't sleep that night, or for a lot of nights after. And when he finally told someone what had happened, carefully expecting to be laughed at, he wasn't laughed at, because the story he told is a story other people tell too, all over the world, for decades. The details are always a little different. Sometimes it's a knock at the door. Sometimes a tap on a car window in a dark parking lot. Sometimes a voice in a hotel hallway late at night. But the core is always the same. 2 children. Sometimes 1. Sometimes 3. Polite, calm, out of place. Asking, always asking to be let in, to be invited. Because the stories agree they cannot come in unless you allow it. They need the door open from your side. They need you to choose it. And every person who refused describes the same flood of relief and the same cold thought afterward, lying awake, going over it. What would have happened if I had said yes? No one knows what they are. That's the honest answer. Some say spirits. Some say something wearing the shape of children because a child is the one thing most of us will open a door for without thinking. Some say they aren't supernatural at all, just a story our minds build out of fear and bad lighting and a knock at a bad hour. Maybe. But everyone who tells this story ends up at the same single rule. The one thing that seems to keep you safe. You do not invite them in. You don't open the door. You don't roll down the window. You don't say yes, not out of kindness, not out of pity, not because they are only children, not for any reason at all. Because whatever they are, they have to be let in. And the moment you decide they can't be, the moment you say no and mean it, they leave. Ray said no. Ray is still here. So if it's late and you're alone and there's a soft, polite knock at your door, 3 taps, even in calm, and you look out and there are 2 children there asking so reasonably to be let in, don't check if their eyes are black. By the time you're close enough to see that, you're already too close. Just remember the rule. Don't open the door. Sleep well tonight. I'll be back next week, and keep the lights on.